forms and how to gather user information on your website. Let's get started. As usual, we have a single file called website.html. I'm using Visual Studio Code and OpenLive Server. Okay, let's get started. So, how do you create forms in HTML? You guessed it, we basically use form HTML element. Then we need to specify two things. Number one is label. So, for example, let's call this first name, then input field. And we'll discuss what that means a little bit. df name. Great. If I save this, we see that here we have a label on the input field. It's a type of text. This input field have an ID called fname. The label should have a 4 that has the same value as the ID because you want to link these two. In screen readers, if somebody is using a screen reader, when they basically select this, the screen reader would read the label to kind of tell them it's that. It's very useful. And here, the name is, so once you finish this form, you're gonna submit it, and then a backend server is gonna accept. So for example, this it would accept it is like, let's see, first name, and let's say something like first name is equal to, let's say the value is James, and you can actually also specify here. So if I save this and save that, it would be James there. So it would be James. So here is the name of the value, and here is the actual value that you passed. And this is what the person on the other end, or the code on the other end, would receive. So let's create another one. Let's create another input file of day of birth. It's going to be DOB. Then that means this DOB. We don't need the value. Move in both places. And the name is going to be DOB. The text is going to be now. We don't want an input like that. We want a date. We save this. Now you see we actually get a date picker. We can pick our date. Isn't that nice? But you can see kind of a problem. It's gonna list in one line, so we need to break this. So between these two, we just put a break element. Now we break it. That's good. Now let's go to another thing. Say we have another one that says, your country. I'm really bad coming with stuff. And let's change this to, instead of it being, let's change to radio, and you will see what that is. So, let's see, I have a paragraph called select your country, and this label is going to be, the first input is going to be the US. So let's say this is USA. This is the ID actually is USA. The name is going to be country. So we have this. We also need multiple countries. So let's say this is the UK. And the country, we're gonna keep that the same. And basically see the ID is UK. This one is other. And other. And other. So here we have the first one. So the country should all match. The countries should all match. Here you have, so the reason you want countries, no matter what I select, I only want to be able to select one of them. So that's why we need this country property, because then when we actually we wanted the name to be all the same, because if you remember back that, then we would receive name is equal to the US or UK or other, right? We'll receive one of these, and then you actually need the values here too. You don't actually need the value, good. So here US, UK, so this is what you want to receive. So that's why you want to keep the same name, because the name doesn't change, the selection changes. And we know that in radio you can only select one of them, so that's great. And you can add, let's add another one which is very very close to this, and that one is, I'm just going to change the type first so you can see. It's called checkbox. So let's say checkbox. Now the main difference, actually need to change this, say continent. Continent. So let's say a continent you have visited, have lived in, and basically we're just gonna have 3 continents in this case. So that would be, let's have Africa and Asia. Actually that would just be continent 4. Then one continent to continent 3. Just gonna need it editing. Let's see how the checkboxes are done, my friend. Oh. Okay, so they're all separate. Great. So now we're gonna create the checkboxes. So let's just copy this. We're gonna need basically this right here. So now we're gonna create a checkbox selection. So we basically have everything we had before. Let's change this to checkbox, and then this to checkbox, and this to checkbox. If I save that, now you see we have a checkbox and radio, both of them. So what I want to do is I want to say what continent you lived in. What continent? I'll say what transportation device you have. This is hard. The hardest part is coming up with names. Okay, so cool. So let's say this one is car, and we have a bike, and we have a horse. So horse transportation device. I have. Okay, cool. So what transportation device do you have? And boom. So, and then you can select, I have a bike, I have a car, or I have all of them, and then you get select. So now we need to change this. This should be car. The name would be vehicle 1. So I'll say vehicle 1. This would be car, and then we want a bike here, and the ID should also change for a bike, and then this would be vehicle 2. We have a horse here, and this would be vehicle 3. Wow, that would be fun. Okay, and then horse. So here, if we select just, let's say we select just the first one, then we will receive car, or vehicle when it's equal to car. If we select multiple, then we will receive both. So we'll receive something like vehicle 2 is equal to bike, something like that. And then if you don't select anyone, you won't receive anything. So that's how that works. Let's try selection. So if I want to give you choice, for example, so let's create selection. Let's create the label for selection, and the label would be home. Let's say continent. Which continent do you live? Which one do you live? And basically now we want to give you an options. And the name here, as you guys see, would be home. And we also would need an ID here for home, because the ID connects the two, and then the name is as we discussed before. Now inside the selection, you want to write options. So let's say option 1 would be Africa. So, and then you can put a value here called Africa. So since let's just write 2 more options, Asia and Americas. Or if you live in Europe and Antarctica, and good luck with that. Okay, cool. So, and we actually need a break here, because it's getting too crowded. Cool. So, which continent do you live in? And now you can select Asia, America, or Africa. That's all choices you have. Let's actually add Europe, because I wanna display something else here, and just change that to E. Cool. And now the nice thing about this is that's what you have. Now here you will get home is equal to, and then one of the values. So if you select Africa, you get Africa. If you selected Asia, you get Asia. And that is why we need that's why we need to specify the value here. If you look at it, we don't specify the value anywhere else, because here the user, you're giving the choices and you want them to select. That is Americas. Cool. And that, now we covered a lot. There are way more. So next thing I want to do is now about the select, right? It only shows us one. What if we want to see 2 things at once? You could actually pass size property and say 2. If I save that, now I can see 2 things. And then if I say multiple, I could select multiple things at the same time. I could select, for example, Africa and Americas. Like Africa and yeah. It's pretty cool. So, and now we actually want to submit it. And so we need to break this. Boom. And now to submit, you pass an input field called submit. Boom. And this gives you the submit button. If you want to change the text of submit button, you can basically close this at the font, but you can add it here. So you could be like this submit, or you could actually pass a placeholder. Submit this, save, and value, I mean. Now you can say submit this, or you can change that. Now, and once you click this form will be submitted. But right now, there's no way for it to go because I don't have the backend implemented, and all this needs to be inside the form. So the form is the parent, everything in here is inside the form. And now the form have an action. So the action is what you want to happen after you submit the form. So for example, let's say, I don't know, say Google, because we kind of misuse Google. Let's say if I type Google, now after I submit the code, it would send this data to Google. So let me kind of fill that, boom, boom, then it says submit, and then it sends it to Google. And if you actually look at here, this is the data we have. So So if you could see, the first name is equal to Asos, and the date of birth is equal to that. The country is equal to on. See, I should have given this value, so I should have said, value is equal to US. Otherwise, right now it's just saying the country is selected, but it doesn't specify which country is selected. And then home is equal to Asia. So now we could see how it actually submits. Now, as we have seen now, when you submit the form, you could actually see your data there. Now, a lot of times you don't want to show your data in there. So that is where the method comes in. So if I say method, right now we're using a get method. The default is get method. That's why we see there. Let's say if you had your email password, like your bank information, your bank username and password in there, that's really dangerous. You don't want that around. So now if we change this to method, let's change this to post. So now it's a post. Let me get back here and let me give values to this, and USA value, UK, and value is other. Save this. Now boom, select that, select that, select that too, select that. If I submit it, they say nice one. Now it sent the request to Google. Google didn't accept it because Google is like, what the hell are you doing to me right now? But we don't see there. Now if you have get, and let me go back, and it says submit this. Now again, Google is throwing the error because you can't saw that. But normally in post you wouldn't see there, so that's why. Let's say in post error, just do that. Boom. See if it works this time. Now see, it works. So now if we back it, it didn't give a first name, and now our country is equal to UK. Because we passed the value, we said, hey, the value is going to be UK. And the idea about the value is if the user is giving the value themselves, you don't need to enter the value. But if the user is not, then you need to enter. So that is forms. That's how you can send the forms. That's it. Have a good day. Bye. See you in the next video.